Welcome back, everyone. Today I have a fun deck that I've personally been working on, and that is Innsmouth. I'm a huge H.P. Lovecraft fan, so when I saw that we were getting Innsmouth in My Hero Academia card game, I figured kind of weird that a one-off kind of filler villain was getting a showing, but again, I love Lovecraft, Shadows over Innsmouth. As you can see, it's kind of what I named the deck after. Hey, Sam. But Innsmouth was a character that saw quite a bit of play when Tongue Whip was legal, because he wants to stuff your rival's card pool. Tongue Whip does that and gives a big damage boost based on the number of cards in your rival's card pool. But after Tongue Whip rotated, he kind of fell off. And I decided I wanted to see how I could push what Innsmouth wants to do. And I think I'm using him on a new symbol, because he used to be on the evil or water symbols. I chose air for this build. So let's dive right in, shall we? Innsmouth is a 6 hand size 29 health character. As previously stated, he has air, evil, and water as his symbols. He has a response, discard one card, so you discard a card from your hand to use this response. After you play a ranged or slam attack, it gets +3 damage. Add the top card of your rival's deck to their card pool. So you're getting 3 damage on your attack, and you're clogging their card pool, so effectively +1 speed for discarding a card from your hand. Granted, that is a high cost. As a 6-hander, you usually have those 6 hand size problems where you're not drawing enough attacks. So I wanted to see how we could make the most of our attack lineup and the cards we were able to get into our hand at any given moment. He also has an enhance, once per turn your turn. Discard one card from your rival's card pool. Commit one rival foundation. So you can selectively commit a rival foundation by getting rid of a card in their card pool. So effectively you're undoing your clogging, but if there's a card like Incredible Display or Condescending Explanation, something that's really going to mess you up, you can selectively commit that card. Really powerful, it's only once per turn, but it's still really good. So let's look into what our attack lineup is. Any minute now. Sorry, my internet's a little slow. First off, we have Storm of Arrows. One of the great ways to ensure that you can reuse Innsmouth's ability multiple times is if your attacks can count for more attacks. So Storm of Arrows is a 4 for 5 with the Echo keyword. So after it resolves, you may spend 1 momentum to play it once more as your next form from your card pool. But it also has a static that says you may spend a ranged weapon attack from your card pool as though it was momentum to pay for this attack's Echo ability. So if there's a weapon ranged card, it has to have both the weapon and range keyword in your card pool when you play Storm of Arrows. You can then, after it resolves, spend that card, clear it from your card pool, and play Storm of Arrows again on a 5 difficulty instead of a 6. Which allows you to then use Innsmouth's response again. So, pretty solid. And you'll see we do have some ranged weapon cards in our attack line. We have Walk the Dog, because if we're going to be clogging our rival's card pool, or selectively committing at least one card, Walk the Dog is going to be a 4 difficulty foundation attack really quickly, because our rival doesn't want to take a whole bunch of damage when we're adding 3 damage to Storm of Arrows to make it 8 damage. Walk the Dog becomes 9 damage. Some of the other cards you'll see here can get pretty big and overcome their damage, their low damage thresholds. So it's a 6 low 6. It really wears the Innsmouth +3 very well. Plus we're clogging our rival's card pool because the discard 1 card response is not once per turn. It is anytime we play a ranged or slam attack, we can discard a card to give that attack 3 damage and stuff a card in our rival's card pool. It's also got Stun 1, which is great. It's got Powerful 3 if we need to spend that momentum as a kill card. And as an enhance, we can draw one card for each copy of Walk the Dog in our card pool. So at the very least, if we play Walk the Dog and use our Innsmouth ability, Walk the Dog will replace the card we discarded for Innsmouth. And if we can draw another Walk the Dog, then we can draw 2 cards on our next one, while discarding a card to put another card in the card pool and make another 9 damage move. So really, really powerful there. And it's a ranged weapon card, which we can use for Storm of Arrows if need be. We have Razor Deluge. This is a 3/3, pretty weak, but it says enhance if a card has left your card pool this turn, your rival adds a card from their hand to their card pool face up and draws one card. So if we've cleared a card with Storm of Arrows, or cleared our Tentacle Strike, which we'll get to in a little bit, we can stuff our rival's card pool again and force them to draw a card. So this becomes a 3/6 if we've discarded a card with Innsmouth. That's pretty good. And then enhance if our rival does not attempt to block this attack. They lose 1 health for each attack in both card pools. So if we're able to, play a Walk the Dog or a Sniper's combo, Storm of Arrows, clear for that. That's probably how we're gonna get the top enhance. But if we just like Walk the Dog, Razor Deluge, and our rival can't block it, we can just deal extra damage that way. So that's really good as just a little bit of a tick, because that can reduce them to 0. And it is also a ranged weapon to clear with Storm of Arrows for our Echo. And then our last ranged weapon, I believe, is Sniper's Combo. This is a 3 mid-4, and as an enhance, if it was preceded by a ranged attack or a face-down card, so any of our ranged kit here, or a Storm of Arrows that's been echoed, maybe, we can clear this card from our card pool after it resolves, which would then, of course, trigger Razor Deluge. A card has left our card pool, so we can disrupt our rival's hand. And with Innsmouth, this becomes a 3 mid-7. Something our rival's going to want to block, on top of putting a card in their card pool, making it harder to block. And then this clears itself from our card pool, so we don't have to worry about progressive difficulty on it. Pretty solid. Next we have Around the World. Those were the Sniper's Combo, Razor Deluge, Walk the Dog, Storm of Arrows. Those were our ranged and weapon cards. The rest only have ranged. But Around the World is a 4 mid-6 throw with stun 1, so a throw wears that +3 damage really well. 4 mid-9 throw. It's got stun 1, which is good when we're clogging the card pool and then stunning their foundations. And as an enhance, we can discard 1 momentum, or spend a momentum, I'm sorry, add a copy of Around the World, or Walk the Dog from our discard pile to our hand. So any Walk the Dogs we've checked, or spent as momentum, or spent for Storm of Arrows, we can then pick up and then play again. So imagine our rival kind of overcommits into their turn, and they have 4 committed foundations. We play Walk the Dog on a 4. It's a 6/6. We draw a card. We stun 1. We Storm of Arrows after that. 4/8, let's say, with Innsmouth. Then we spend our Walk the Dog for Storm of Arrows Echo. Then we play Around the World on a 6 and spend a momentum to pick up a Walk the Dog again. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 attacks with 3 cards and 1 momentum. And that's without counting any draw that we get or getting all the extra bonus damage with Innsmouth. So that's pretty crazy right there for having 4 attacks, or having 3 cards and throwing 5 attacks. That's pretty nuts. It is a 2-check, so you do have to be careful with that, but I think it's well worth it. Then we have Vast Hybrid Chimera Kraken. This goes to your momentum face up if it would go to your momentum from a public zone, such as your card pool or your discard pile. It's a 4/6 or a 4/9 with Innsmouth's ability. In your momentum, once per turn, you can give your attack 2 speed, which, combined with your card pool stuffing, is going to make an attack virtually unblockable. As an enhance, you can commit a rival asset, so if they have like an Airy or an Idun box that's going to be bothering you, you can use this as an opener to get rid of that. And then as an enhance, you can commit and freeze 1 rival foundation, so not only do you commit it, but it stays committed through your rival's next turn. They're not allowed to ready it until the end of their next turn, so that's really solid, especially as an opener. And then we have Tentacle Strike. This is a really cool one. It's a 4/4. It's Innsmouth's signature attack. As an enhance, if our rival's character is committed, this attack gets +2 damage. So 4/6, which with Innsmouth can become a 4/9. Not bad stats. A lot of characters like Asui 3 or that's all I can think of for right now. Kanoko Komori. A lot of characters want to commit for their own costs, so that's really going to be kind of a useful +2 damage, just on the off chance your rival wants to commit. And then as a response in the card pool, you can remove this card from your card pool. After a card leaves your rival's card pool, commit one rival foundation. So if we've played Tentacle Strike, and we use Innsmouth to discard a card from their card pool to selectively commit a foundation of theirs, we can then remove Tentacle Strike to selectively commit another foundation. So instead of losing one card in their card pool and they lose a foundation, effectively coming up even, we get to selectively commit a second foundation, keeping them kind of in the negative on their defensive, on the defense, which is really, really cool. But this is also not a card pool response for your turn, so if you've blocked with this, and your rival has like a Storm of Arrows of their own, or a way to clear their card pool, you can commit something on their turn by removing your Tentacle Strike that you've blocked with. So all in all, it's an attack lineup that wants to keep your card pool relatively clear, while keeping more cards in your hand to play Innsmouth's discard ability to just throw some hurtin' bombs, 8, 9 damage moves, and stuff your rival's card pool so that it's really hard for them to deal with it. Onto our non-attacks, we have Cape of No Return, because I always try to play at least one Cape of No Return if I'm on one of these three symbols of Air, Chaos, or Void. It is just a really great get out of attack free button, because you can remove this asset to remove this current attack from the game. So, get rid of it, you don't have to worry about it. Onto actions, we have Airy Smiles, so another way to clog your rival up on defense, because when you block with it, you can flip a foundation and force your rival to play a non-attack card as their next form, or they have to pass their turn. So, clogging on offense and pseudo-clogging on defense. And as an enhance, you can remove Airy Smiles to add a foundation from your stage to the top of your deck. So if you've got a 5 or a 6 you want to put on top of your deck and you've committed it already, you can commit it to pass a check and then put it on top of your deck to guarantee your next check. And then Genkai's Guidance, which is another really good get-out-of-attack free card. You destroy 3 foundations. After your rival plays an attack, remove it. Or, as your first form, you can remove Genkai's Guidance and discard a card. Your rival discards 1 card. So if you, say, draw 3 attacks, a Genkai's Guidance, and like 2 foundations or something, you can get rid of the Genkai's Guidance and a foundation, and then you don't have to worry about one more card that your rival's going to be used to block. So if you've got like 2 Walk the Dogs and you know you're going to be replenishing your hand, you can do something like that and really make the use of Innsmouth's responsibility. On to our foundations. We have Personal Reload. We flip this as a first enhance to discard 1 card and draw 1 card, and our ranged or weapon attack gets +1 speed. It's just some good filter draw if we need it, and something I like is if you have a momentum and you play Around the World, use this as your first enhance to discard a Walk the Dog and draw a card, and then spend your momentum to pick up the Walk the Dog that you just spent, so kind of just drawing a card for free at that point, and you get a cheeky +1 speed when you're already clogging your rival's card pool, so that's really good. Then Pressured by All for One. This is a dangerous foundation, but really solid for when you're going in for the kill. You destroy 2 foundations, and your ranged or weapon attack gets +3 damage. So even if you spend your entire hand on Innsmouth, you can still use your foundations to get another +3 damage. So if you use both, that's 6 damage on 1 attack, and if your rival can't block it, that's a lot of damage they're taking to the face. Curious about quirks, we discard cards from our hand as a cost, so all the free draw we can get, we want. So curious about quirks, our rival's going to be playing their character's ability, this is just going to freely give us cards in our hand. Cheerleader, great defensive piece, we remove it, spend a momentum, after our rival plays an attack, it gains flash. This is also fun if it's your attack, and you know your rival's not going to be able to block it. You can spend a momentum to give it flash, and discard a card to give it 3 damage, and your rival won't be able to use any Cape of No Return, or Condescending Explanation, or any of these enhances that get rid of an attack. You can just give it flash, give it the 3 damage, and go, and just force your rival to deal with it, while putting more cards in their card pool so they can't deal with it. We have a Mother's Embrace, which readies itself after you clear a card from your card pool during the combat phase, which Storm of Arrows clears itself, Sniper's Combo clears itself, Tentacle Strike removes itself, but Storm of Arrows clears other cards. So that's just a really good way to kind of combo into that and keep our strings going. Class membership, I like it because when you partially block, you can gain 2 health. We do have 29 health starting, but we do kind of want to leverage that as much as possible. We have Venture Forth from Singorn. I still don't think I'm saying that right. As a form, we get to draw 2 cards, and we cannot play Foundations for the rest of the turn. So if we're going into our long attack string, we think we're going to kill our opponent, we just need 2 more cards, either to discard for Innsmouth's ability, or hopefully we draw more attacks. This is just the way to get that last bit of gas to get over the finish line. Fearsome Transformation, flip draw a card, and then if we have no momentum, we discard a card, but if we have momentum, this is just free replenish your hand after discarding for Innsmouth's ability. Childlike Appearance, we want our rival to have as few ready foundations going into our turn as possible. So destroy this, spend a momentum, reduce the current attack speed to 0, and if it's blocked, selectively commit a rival foundation. What you'll notice is aside from the stun on Around the World and Walk the Dog, all of our committal is targeted. Tentacle Strike targets, Innsmouth targets, Childlike Appearance targets. We get to selectively choose what our rival is being forced to commit. Vast Hybrid Chimera Kraken targets. So we get to selectively choose what pieces our rival does not have access to on their turn. Or on our turn. And then Childlike Appearance can commit one on their turn, either to prevent us from dying, or maybe commit a really solid defensive piece, so that when we survive, we go into our turn and not have to worry about that. Hungry for Fame. We commit and flip this, we add a card from our momentum to our hand. This is another way to get more cards for Innsmouth to discard, or more attacks to play if we drew maybe more foundations than attacks. So, really solid there. Problem Solving. As a response, after we discard this card during the Enhance step, our next check to play a card gets +1. Innsmouth does not discard during the Enhance step, that is sad. So I think I misread that. But as a response, once per turn, Tenacious, after it's committed due to a rival effect, we get to ready it. And it's got a nice +2 high block. So that's not bad. But I do see that this says during the Enhance step, and I probably missed that on the first go. Nice Try. I love this card defensively, because we can commit it on our turn to pass a check. It readies itself during our rival's turn, and then we can commit it for -2 speed. And it's a good low block, so very nice. Fast Hybrid, as long as we have momentum, we can form once per turn. Our attacks get +1 damage for the rest of the turn, turning Innsmouth's +3 into a +4, which is really solid. Then we can put it into our momentum, face up, as an enhance, and then once per turn while it's in our momentum, our next check gets +1. That's either offensively or defensively, so we can either block better or continue our killer string. Heroic Assistance, this is great stun hate. After one or more of our cards is committed due to a rival effect, we can ready 2 foundations that have not been readied this combat phase. And in Deadlock, we can flip it to look at our rival's hand and change the zone of our current attack, which is really solid. And I finally found a place for Asui's Friendship. This card responds to commit itself. After our ranged attack deals damage, our rival commits 2 foundations. So with all of our targeted committal, if one of our attacks gets through, we then tell them commit 2 more. And basically make Walk the Dog free. Can't Escape Me, good for draw hate, and in Deadlock we can commit for speed for each of our rivals' committed foundations to really guarantee that an attack gets through. And then Feelin' Cute, we can destroy a foundation to give our attack +1 speed. Again, add that on top of the fact that we are stuffing our rival's card pool and selectively committing their best foundations. We're going to try to make sure that every attack lands for big damage. Yeah, and that is the Innsmouth deck I've been working on. Like I said, I really like the character. I love Lovecraft, so to be able to make a Lovecraftian-style deck really speaks to me. And I love the idea of just playing these cards like Walk the Dog or around the world that kind of replace the cards that you're discarding for Innsmouth. I do wish there was more draw on air, but of course, if we had too much draw, he'd be way busted. Looking into it, I would get rid of the problem solvings because I did not see in my initial build that it has to discard during the enhance step. Because it would be cool to discard it for +3 damage and our next check is +1. But c'est la vie. Yeah, that is my Innsmouth. My first crack at Innsmouth. I've never built him before. And I really wanted to do like an Innsmouth Walk the Dog, Storm of Arrows type of deck to maximize his ability. And I think that maybe with a few more iterations, he could be pretty solid. But what do you guys think? What do you think of the character? What do you think of the deck style? Like I said, this is one of my personal builds. Since I'm done with day zeros for girl power, I'm going to be working on more of my personal stuff. And I'm also going to be starting a budget series where you can build a deck, where I'm going to build a deck for different characters, all using nothing higher than a rare rarity. So no ultra rares, no secret rares, nothing like that. So just your basic like $25 deck, really good for beginners. So I'm going to be starting a budget series, so look forward to that if you're a cheapskate like me or a new player who's just trying to get into it. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this deck list. If you did, please leave a comment. If you are not subscribed yet, please consider subscribing. I'd greatly appreciate it. And I will see you guys in the next one. Until then, take care.